Hello everyone, this is Sherry at Truth Talk Tarot. This is where we uncover what mysteries might want to be uncovered at this time. If you're drawn to the title or the thumbnail and that's what drew you here, that you're here for a reason, so trust your intuition and that there's probably something in this reading that is for you. I have put timestamps that you can fast forward through all the 6 positions of the reading, so that if there's one that you resonate with more, you want to hear more about, you can go right there. There's also on this left hand side, there's a question. I think it's left, whichever one. I'll have to look at that when I do the reading. I think it's on one of these two sides, this side or that side. So basically, this is where we get a message from the universe that tells us what is needing to be looked at this time, what's coming up to be looked at, just so that we can be aware of it. Don't be afraid of what's termed masked, or when I say unmasked is just an unveiling and unraveling of what you might be dealing with at this time. You know, if you're here, like I said, you're here for a reason. These are timeless readings, so whenever you find it, it's meant for you. In our first position, we have the Hierophant card. The Hierophant, this is our mask position, and this is why we're here. So why we're here. When we look at the Hierophant, it can be about commitments, it can be about values, morals, beliefs. It's basically an epitome of kind of the guidebook, the rule book, the playbook, if you will, of how we live our life day to day. So this is telling me, with this card coming out in this position, this is what's under evaluation at this time. This is what needs to be looked at this time for us. So let's go ahead and we'll see if we can get a little bit more on this. Get a little bit more on this Hierophant card. Now, interesting enough, with this Hierophant card, there's actually, I just noticed there's these 2 characters that are behind this gentleman. Everybody's reading books. Everybody's learning something or trying to figure something out. And for whatever reason, and I don't know why this is coming through this way, but there is a female and a male character there. So I'm getting what's coming up is yin yang, masculine, feminine energy. We all have masculine and feminine energy within us, and maybe there's an imbalance at this time that needs to be looked at and evaluated on either your yin or your yang energy. So, or something that might need to come into balance. So give me more information, please clarify and give me more information on this Hierophant card for my viewers. So we have the Magician. The Magician is all about having the tools that we need to do something. It's about manifesting. And so, you know, interesting enough, a manifestation or manifesting something into the world requires both our yin and our yang energy. It requires both masculine and feminine energy, because we use the feminine energy, that's that, you know, like intuition, it's what, like the internal mental energy, as far as like using our soul, our heart, the emotion. It's the felt part of when we're manifesting. It's when we're putting that emotion and we're putting that feeling behind something that we want to happen. You know, we're putting that emphasis, that energy towards it. But it's from a more passive place, because, you know, the feminine energy or the yin energy is all about, you know, like not taking action. That's the masculine energy, but the feminine energy is about, you know, that manifestation, because she knows, her intuition knows and trusts that she can create the reality that she wants for herself, that things will come to her. She doesn't need to go after them, things will come to her. But then the flip side of that is we have the masculine energy, which is all about taking action. So, you know, even though the yin energy is all about this, you know, like putting the energy behind something, you know, energetically, and from like the 5D perspective, we do have to bring it and ground it into reality, which is what the yang energy does. So if you kind of think about, going down through the chakras in our body. If you go through the chakra centers, if you have energy that comes from like this kind of mental celestial, it can come from your intuition, your third eye, but it comes down, you have to bring it down. It goes through your heart center, and then it comes out into the world through the root chakra, that grounded energy where we ground it into reality. So we go from the 5D up, down into the earth. Or we can also pull things, from our experience from this 3D reality, we can pull things in and move up the chakras out into the 5D. So it's a two-way street. So with this, being the magician card, I feel like there might be some chakras blocked potentially, especially since this is falling on the Hierophant card. And when we have blocked chakras within us, it can cause blockages in certain things, like maybe blockages in our heart space and how we express love, or it could be a blockage in our throat chakra and we're having trouble communicating something, or it could be, like mentally where we're, our judgment and our thinking is maybe a little bit clouded. Or it could be in our sacral where our intuition is maybe a little closed off. So there's these things that can cause these blockages with the chakra centers, and whether we're pulling something down or pulling something from the 5D down into reality, or pulling something from the 3D up into the 5D. So and so I feel like that's really what the magician is representing on this today on this card. I definitely want to feel so let's see if we can get an idea, maybe use the essential oils deck and see if we can find out potentially what the blockage is, what may be blocked at this time. Okay, so the blockage potentially could be around, this is the Siberian fir card. It says acceptance, okay? So the trigger statement is we must remember, but the true statement is I am free of the habits, the Hierophant card. That's, like I said, that's our values, our beliefs. That's the things that we do over and over. It's how we walk in the world. Like I said, our playbook, so to speak. So I am free of the habits that do not serve me. I'm free of the habits that do not serve me. And so I understand that, like the trigger statement now saying we must remember, because it's that patterning, it's the patterns, and it's interesting that that's coming up when we're talking about masks, and that's what this channel is about. But like I think I kind of said at the beginning, don't worry about the terminology of mask. It really is just, our masks are our identity. We put on different masks throughout the day. We put on a different mask in different situations. It's how we handle things, so it's to just simplify it, simplify what a mask is. A mask can be anything. It's how we handle a situation. That's the easiest way to put it. It's how we react or how we handle a situation when it comes up, because we can handle it in so many different ways. And so what we're looking at is how we're handling a situation, and what maybe would help us resolve that issue, like what and I don't say necessarily resolve it as in good or bad, because the mask inherently, or the way we react to something, is never inherently good or bad. It's just your way of doing things. But what this reading allows you to do is evaluate, like you can see, okay, this is something around, maybe a chakra is blocked, maybe there's something blocked here, now let me be aware of it and look at it, so then I can evaluate it. And that's the importance of these readings. If you take one thing away from this reading and this channel, it's putting things underneath the microscope, evaluating, making you aware of it so you can evaluate it, so you can use your own discernment and your own judgment to make a judgment call whether that is a behavior you want to carry forward, or it's a behavior that you would like to rectify and change in some way. Okay, so with this coming out, we have acceptance. Lay down the armor that has been passed down to you from your family. Release habits that are not serving you, and forgive on the behalf of generations past. So this really tells me, and that's what a lot of masks that we wear, are, generational, like conditioning. It's handed down conditioning where, your grandparents have always done something a certain way, and so your parents learned how to, they learned from their parents who, always did that thing, so they learned to always do that thing, and then, it came down to you and you learned that way as well. Now, it doesn't mean that way is good or bad, right or wrong. Like I said, it doesn't matter. It's all about looking at the things and evaluating them and say, is this right or not? Because we want to look at it from a different perspective and then make that judgment call, or make that discernment of whether this is suiting us for the better good or not. Like as this card kind of indicated, we want to lay down the things that are not serving us. Okay, so this tells me that there's something that that maybe we accepted as true that maybe isn't part of our true identity of what we really believe or what we really want to believe. Okay, maybe we have been conditioned to learn to do a certain thing. A good example of this is, for me, was my family taught me that you always had to work hard to make money, that you couldn't make money unless you worked hard, that you had to toil and labor and you had to work hard to earn money. That's not true. Like, I believed that all my life, but I've come to change that belief and that value, that core value, because I realized it was conditioned into me from my childhood, because that's the way my parents believed and that's the way their parents believed. It was generational. But I broke that because I said, this doesn't resonate with me. This isn't what I believe. This isn't what I want to believe. I want to believe something else. So, and that's why I really feel like the magician is here, because it's saying you do have the power to change those things. Just because your parents, or just because you learned something growing up, doesn't mean you always have to be that way or you always have to do it that way. You always have the ability to change the way you do things in your life. That is your prerogative. That's your free will. Use your free will to choose to do things the way you want to do them. That's what being your authentic self is, and that's what this channel is all about, is helping you stand up for what you believe in, not what you've been taught, not what, not what you've learned from maybe, experiences you've had in your life or other influential people you've had in your life, or from society, influencing peer pressure have taught you certain things. And it's about breaking those and saying, is this really what I believe? Is this really who I want to be? Is this really how I want to act or how I want to respond to something? And that's what this is all about. And probably a good time to mention this. I probably mentioned it at the end, but this is a good kind of fit. If this is all resonating and you want to learn more or want to dive deeper into this topic, I have written a book. It's called We're Not What We've Been Taught. And it's linked down in the description and on my channel if you are interested. But let's move forward, because I've talked a very long time on this first card, but I really think that it set the stage of what the problem is. But we'll go ahead and move on. So the next card, our next placement, our next position is the mirror position. Position number 2, the mirror position, and we have the 6 of Pentacles coming out. So the second position, as you can see here, it says this is all about what externally is influencing this main, the main reason we're here. So this Hierophant energy, the beliefs, our values, things like that. What externally is influencing this at this time, so what is, kind of, what externally, what is it showing us? What is it, showing us needs to change? And interesting enough, I mean, we've got a kind of hooded, cloaked guy that almost looks like another monk. And he's got, again, like I think that's a tablet. It's like a stone tablet there. But look, like he's teaching this child something. It looks like he is and there's this flame, there's illumination, like he's illuminating. And I like how there's even the light here, like the kid's in the shadow, and there's this light here. So there's like this illumination, of teaching him something. So, so there might be something going on around you that is driving this need to or maybe causing this what's the word I want to use? Challenging your beliefs. Someone around you or something around you, something you're experiencing right now might be challenging your beliefs and making you look at them, and wonder, because somebody may have different beliefs than you, which, good night. Look in the world around us. Everybody right now is having headbutts around differences of beliefs and stuff. So there could be someone in your environment that believes something different than you do, and you're starting to look at the way you believe things and say, do I, is what I believe really, what I feel is right or not? Going in and using your intuition and using your own wisdom to understand, really kind of weigh the pros and cons, so to speak, of is this maybe somebody knows something, that I didn't know. Maybe I learned something that maybe isn't true, and evaluating. I like this because it's this evaluation process, which is everything about, what we do, what we do on this channel. But I really like this because it really is speaking, all of this is really tying in really well, but I feel like, the important message here is there's something right now, and you'll have to, this is a general message, so I can't, really pinpoint what that is, but there's a reason that, whatever the reason was that drew you to this reading, whether it be, the question that was asked in the title, or whether it was the image, the visual scene on the thumbnail, or, whatever drew you here to watch this reading, think back of what that was, what triggered you, or what, and I gotta stop, I need to stop using that word. I do not like the word triggered, and I need to find a better way to say it or use it. But whatever drew you in and made you question or made you wonder, that was brought up when you read that question, that's what you're here for. So trust that. Trust, that whatever was going through your mind at that time when you clicked on this video that drew you here, whatever was going through your mind at that time, that's what's under review right now. That's what's really needing to be looked at. And it has to do with a way that you're looking at things. I went through an evaluation process, not, a few years back, of deciding whether, what I believed in as far as, relationships are concerned, and around open relationships, monogamy, and polyamory, and all that. I really did a lot of research and a lot of thinking through a lot of things to determine what was best for me, because I had met somebody that was poly, and it made me question a lot of my beliefs around commitment and monogamy, and what that really meant to me and what was important to me. In the end, I did stick with my original beliefs, but I was willing to look at the greater picture and look and say, I'm not going to judge this. I'm going to understand it and then make a good decision for myself, a very a very strong, because now I'm more determined. Now I know who I am, and I know I'm never going to question that again, because I now know what my beliefs and morals are and what's true to my heart, to my soul, and that's not going to change for anybody. There's nobody that's going to convince me otherwise now, because I've cemented that, because I've done that evaluation. I've done, that whole process. And so it's something like that, where there's this need to go through, and the reason I kind of elaborated is there's this need to go through this process right now when it comes to something like that. And I feel like with the Six of Pentacles and the way this card looks, it's somebody around you that has maybe challenged your beliefs in some way. And so there's this need to evaluate whether the way you were taught or the way that you do things, whether it's still valid or not. Okay. So the next position that we have is the flame position. So we went from, we found out what the topic was, what we're here today for, what's influencing us externally. And, I talked about that kind of up and down, bringing something from the 5D down to the 3D and something from the 3D up to the 5D. Well, think of the external as that external, that 3D, it's from our 3D reality and it's influencing us. So that's that energy that's influencing us from, from the earth, from the 3D reality, and we're bringing it up to the 5D reality so that we can contemplate it and with everything that we know, so that we can then ground that into back into reality, into our truth. We're trying to discover what our truth is. So the next card is the flame position. And so for the flame position, we have the 8 of Swords. So this is internal. This is the 5D going to the 3D. So this is telling me right here that if you're trying to manifest something into reality, it's blocked right now. Why? Because whenever we are confused, and the 8 of Swords, this is like a mental prison, because you think of swords as that's air energy, that's mental energy. So the 8 of Swords represents, being up in our head. It's kind of the monkey mind. It's where we're going round and round in circles in our mind over a problem or a thing that a problem we can't solve or we can't come to the conclusion to, that we're turning it over and over in our mind. And so that's why it's like we're behind this, like these bars. We feel like we can't break free, but in reality, we can. There is always a solution. There is always an answer. We just haven't found it yet. So this is that energy of we haven't found the answer to the problem yet. And so this being internal, like I said, this is what's coming through into reality. So there's this block that is happening where we're not able to bring something into reality because there's like something we're not clear on, we're not understanding fully. I do want to go ahead and get some clarification cards on this 8 of Swords. So give me a couple clarification cards to help me understand. Well, 4 fell out here. I'm going to see what they are. Let's see what they are, because they just kind of fell out of the deck. So we have the Devil card, the 3 of Cups, the 2 of Cups, and the Queen of Cups. Okay. So the 2 of Cups is coming together with something. 3 of Cups can be celebrating something. But interesting enough, this is, even though this is, I'm going to show you this card, even though it's the 3 of Cups, there's only 1 cup there. So it looks like the Ace of Cups, but it's the 3 of Cups. There's not 3 cups on that image. So that actually is significant, because we also have the 2 of Cups, which does have 2 cups. So it's like the 2 and the extra cup makes it 3, but it's like this extra cup isn't part of, it's like this could be really a third energy being in the way, something being in the way. And I think that whatever is in the way is actually dear to our heart. And this could be, it's something we're giving to freely. And if we go back to what the original, what we originally talked about in the first card, the way this is tying in for me is it tells me that we're giving to something that, especially with the external card being the six of Pentacles, that we might be giving to something that definitely isn't serving our highest good, that isn't giving back, it isn't reciprocating, or that we're doing something out of habit because we believe that we're supposed to get something out of it, or we're supposed to get, like, because we're doing X, Y should happen. So there's an expectation there that something should happen in a specific way because we're doing this specific thing. But I have a feeling that's not happening. So I think that's what's causing the confusion at this time. It's like we're giving to something, or we're doing something. A good example is like if you give a gift to somebody, and then there's an expectation for them to say thank you or to give you a gift in return or return the favor in some way, where you're not necessarily really giving it, like in an unconditional way or giving it freely. There is an expectation. Whenever there's an expectation, I hate to say it, but there are quite a few people out there that they give a gift or they give something to somebody, but there is an expectation tied to it. It's not necessarily just a gift to give a gift because they just want to give it with no expectations in return. There are people that don't have any expectations in return, but there are quite a few people out there that do expect something. And when we have those expectations, then we get disappointed when those expectations aren't met. When we expect something and those expectations aren't met, and usually that happens around either we haven't communicated something clearly, or we're expecting a result because we've been taught that we are supposed to get a result that's an expected result from something that we're doing. And so when that doesn't happen, then we start questioning, why is this not happening, or why isn't this person doing what they're supposed to do? Another good one. Okay. And this one was a hard one for me, and I still have trouble with it, is a lot of people have this expectation. There's this societal norm, so to speak, of whenever you go to somebody's house, you always bring something for the people that own the house. Like you always bring a gift with you or something. If you're invited to dinner, invited to their house, you should always bring something for them. And I was never taught that. That was not something I knew. It was something, that certain people knew. It was like, oh, yeah, you should know this. I had people tell me, oh, you should know, this is something you do, and I was made to feel bad, because I didn't bring something, but I didn't know either because I'd never been taught it. And so it's something like that. And, so I felt bad because I didn't know what the expectation was. And they just assumed that I knew because that's what they do, so there's a disconnect there. And so I feel like it's something like that along those lines that's going on here, where there's this disconnect where somebody believes one thing, you believe another thing. And so there's a disconnect. There's a disconnect in communication. There's a disconnect in beliefs. And so there's a need to kind of bridge that gap. And so I think that's what maybe that's coming up right now, is finding a way to bridge that gap, because I feel like it's something important enough, with the Queen of Cups, the Two of Cups, the Three of Cups coming out here. And what was the other one? The Devil. This is something that is important to you to bridge that gap, but you're not sure how to do it yet. You're trying to figure out, because we have, the Three of Cups can, it is coming together with something, but there's something in the way, there's something that's causing a kind of a blockage here, especially with the Devil. And the Devil in that, like I said, that with the Three of Cups, that showing a single cup versus 3 cups on that image, I feel like there's devil energy that is in the way here, that's blocking the coming together of something, or something happening, or getting the result that you're wanting from something, okay? And I think that's why we're up in our head. Okay, let's go ahead and move forward. Our next position is our boundaries position. That's our position 4, is our boundaries position. This is what is draining you or taking from you. Like what, there's something here that is definitely draining you. Whenever we have the 8 of Swords energy, that is definitely a draining energy. It drains us of our energy, because we're stuck. We're kind of stuck. We're in that mental prison, and we're stuck, and we're not moving forward. And there's a blockage in the flow of energy, okay? In or out. And so the boundaries position helps us understand what maybe we need to change or do differently, to say no to, or to change to help that flow, flow in the right direction, or flow in the way that we want it to, It's putting healthy boundaries in place to make sure that we're protecting our energy, that we're saying no to those things that don't serve us, and we're putting our effort and energy. Go back, to the Six of Pentacles. The Six of Pentacles is that reciprocal energy, where there's an equal give and take. And obviously, as I said, there's something here that's disrupting, where there's two people involved and there's a disconnect, and we're trying to bridge the disconnect, whatever that may be. And it could be as simple as, like I said, the partner that I had that was poly and I wasn't, and trying to sort out, how do we bridge that gap? How do we come to find a middle ground? How can we, make this work? It's a very challenging conundrum problem. And so it's something along those lines where there's this really big challenge to something that you believe, and it's making you question that belief, question that, those values, to determine, is this something that is still important to me or not, so that you can meet in the middle here. And so it's like, that can drain you when you're doing that process. It really can drain you, and it can bring out that devil energy, because you're obsessed with finding the answer to the problem. You want to find the answer. You're stuck. You can't figure out what it is. There's an answer, but you just can't figure out how to solve the problem. And that's what's draining us at this time. So we have the Four of Pentacles here as what the blockage is, or what we need to put boundaries up to. So the Four of Pentacles is usually, somebody that can be a little bit miserly, someone who is being reserved, holding back, not wanting to give. And we had the Six of Pentacles, so it's saying where we maybe need to not give to a situation at this time, because we had up here, clarifying the Eight of Pentacles, we have been overgiving to a situation, potentially with the Queen of Cups. We've been overgiving, but there's something that is blocking. There's this obsessive devil energy that is causing a blockage. And a third party doesn't have to necessarily be a person that's blocking something. It's anything that we're putting our mind and energy to that is, like I said, keeping us stuck. And so that Eight of Swords energy can definitely be that. And it could be, especially with the Four of Pentacles coming out in the boundaries position, it could be that we've been giving to something that we're not seeing that reciprocity. Maybe we had some expectations, and those expectations aren't being met. And that doesn't mean that you were right or wrong in any way. It just means that the other entity, the other energy that you're dealing with, or that you're up against this wall with, isn't able, they don't understand or aren't able to reciprocate in the way that you would want someone to, for whatever reason that is. And that's causing you a lot of stress, and that's draining your energy. So there's this need to maybe stop giving to something until maybe you sort through some of this, the challenges mentally that are going on here. I kind of want to go ahead and pull, I think I'm pulling essential oil. Because I'm also noticing now this guy is looking very sad. Like, he's looking very sad and forlorn on that card. Like, he's looking down almost into the water, like reflectively sad. Like, I really wish I could move, but he looks like he is sad. Like, he's a little bit of depression, like, and that could definitely be the Eight of Swords energy as well, where you want to do something, but it's just not happening for whatever reason, because there's a stuck energy, there's a stuck mental energy. So give me a clarification using the essential oils here for this Four of Pentacles. Give me a clarification on the boundaries position here. Cleansing, purification. Yes, that doesn't surprise me. So yeah, interesting enough, the trigger statement, their opinions matter to me. Their opinions matter to me. And the true statement is, I see things in a new way. Isn't this everything I've been saying? Isn't that interesting how that comes out? As you release external influences, we talked about this in energy, you will become clear in regard to what you need. So, like I said, this is about, yes, cleansing, purifying, purging, releasing anything, like not giving into, not giving your energy toward anything like right now that might be confusing, that might be draining you, that might be influencing you in a way that might set you on edge or might cause something to put you in the Eight of Swords energy. If something is putting you in that Eight of Swords, like where you're up in your head and you can't think straight, or you're feeling stuck because something is just going over and over in your head, it's like it's almost like kind of the need to like, you know how sometimes people bring their work home with them, or something will upset them during the day and they bring it home to their family. So there's like this need to like say, you know, I'm not going to let that affect, you know, whatever else is. So it's kind of like setting it aside and kind of really being careful with what we're giving, what we're putting that energy, that we're not letting something consume us, because that devil energy, not letting something be obsessive or consume us, so that we can think straight, so we can get that clarity we need, we can get the clear-mindedness, you know, because that's what we're needing, is to find a way to get a little more clear-minded. And only you're going to know what is really taking your energy away, really dividing your energy, or dividing your thought processes, or keeping you from thinking clearly, what's like consuming you right now mentally. There's a need to kind of try and set that aside for a bit, or, you know, or just accept. We did have acceptance. Yeah, that was our main card up here, acceptance. Accepting something, you know, maybe accepting for right now there isn't a solution, that, you know, just letting it go, accepting, you know, I'm drawn to the serenity prayer of accepting the things that, you know, accepting the things we can't change, you know. So it's like there's not an answer to this issue right now, that maybe there's a need to set it aside, you know, accept that there's no answer to this situation right now, or to this problem, and just move forward, and then let it come naturally, you know, let the universe, trust in the universe, and let the universe like provide the answer for you, you know. There's still a chance that whatever that is could, you know, that answer could, you could have an epiphany moment in this reading. Still have a couple positions left. So I didn't really shuffle. I think they just fell out in the way I picked up the deck. They didn't feel like it was, because it was like a stack that kind of fell out there. And I think it was the way I picked up the card. So the fifth position that we have is the wave position. The wave position is, it's our emotion, the emotions that need to be felt at this time. It's the cup energy, or what emotions need to be felt at this time. So we have justice, okay, bringing justice to something, okay. And again, we have the scales here, and I said at the beginning, there's this need to balance something out. I said that at the very beginning, and here we have this, what needs to be felt is there's a sense of justice. I really feel for most of the people probably coming to this reading, the underlying issue is kind of what I spoke to, of there's a belief that you're interacting with somebody that means a lot to you, or something that means a lot to you, and there's a disconnect in what you believe and in what they believe, or the thing, you know, like there's a difference of opinion. It could, I mean, it even can be around work, honestly. It can be, you know, like maybe the way you believe something, and the values and morals and beliefs of your company, or your coworkers, your team, your boss may differ from you, and you know, you may clash heads or bump heads with each other, you know, and so it could be like being an employee and feeling like you're not appreciated, that you work so hard and put so much effort into your job, and you're feeling not appreciated. You know, your company, your job, your boss, whatever, is not, you know, not doing anything to appreciate you as an employee, even though you feel like you're giving them all your blood, sweat, and tears. So it could be something like that, and it's got you up in your head of what do I do? Do I stay? Do I go? You know, should I get a new job? You know, can I get a new job? You know, so it's got you up in your head, and, you know, like really tossing and turning, maybe having some sleepless nights over it. So what needs to be felt at this time is this need to receive justice. And I think that's why there's this obsession energy, and why we have this mental prison showing up internally, because there's this real need for justice around a situation, to find the answer, to find the solution, to bring things into balance for us, on all levels, on a heart space, a mental space, because it's really trying and draining our energy, which is why there's this need to, kind of maybe figure out a way to just accept the situation for what it is, and understand maybe there's not a solution at this time, but a solution there will be a solution at some point. Maybe it could be, and I'm not a fan of hearing this, but I'm going to say it anyway, it could be divine timing. Maybe, and think of it this way, divine timing can be like, imagine like the job that you need to go to. Somebody's still working in that job and they haven't left that position yet. So it's not open right now, but it might be a month from now, or it might be, a few weeks or 6 months from now. You don't know. The universe, it takes the universe time to move things around and position things to bring something about. But we talked about at the beginning, there's this this disconnect when we're trying to manifest something. So we're trying to make this change, okay? We're trying really hard to make some kind of change, or to figure something out, or to solve some kind of problem, and we're working overtime to do that. And so when we're working overtime, that is our ego that is saying, I'm going to make something happen. I want it to happen right now. I want it, I want it my way. I want it to happen now. This is what I want, but we're not trusting in the universe, which is that yin energy. We're not trusting in the universe and believing that we can have that. We're not believing that we deserve that, we can have that, because we're feeling the need to make something happen. That is almost like an overactive masculine energy. When we get up into our ego and let our ego drive the show, when we think we're the ones that have to solve the problem. If we just have faith, and we trust that the situation will solve itself, that we don't have to exert all our time and energy into something to make something happen, and trust the universe knows what we want. We've put our heart and soul and our energy into it, to let the universe know what we want. But the next step is we have to let go. We have to trust that the universe has got our back, and that it's going to provide. It may not provide in exactly the way that we want it to, but it will provide. And as long as we trust that, then we don't have to be up in our head, and we don't have to obsess about it, and we don't have to come up with the answers. We can just go about, go on with our day, go on with our life, not let it, consume us, so that we can, because there's other things that you could be doing that this could be interfering with, your free time. It may be interfering with your love life. It may be interfering with, spending time with your kids because you're dealing with this issue, whatever it is. So it's taking away from those other areas of your life while you're fighting to come up with a solution. So the universe is kind of saying, there's a need right now to set that aside, let it go, trust that we'll take care of it in some way, and just know that at some point it will take care of itself. It may not happen in the way you want it, but when you do that, when you let things go and let the universe take the wheel, so to speak, then it says, I'm trusting you to make something happen, and it's leaving the universe the possibility, limitless possibilities on how to solve that problem for you. When we want something, when we try and control something, we want something to happen in an exact, certain, specific way, and we're holding on so tightly to, we want it to happen this way, we want it exactly to happen this way. We're telling the universe, this is what I want, and there's no other ifs, ands, or buts. I want it this way, and this is how you have to deliver it. So that stovepipes, or puts the blinders on and stovepipes the universe, that now they have to try and make something happen in the way you want it to happen, which confines it and restricts it, which makes it more challenging. There's more moving pieces that have to be done. You think about the threads of fate and how we're all interconnected and how our lives are all interconnected and how everything's interconnected. The universe has to pull more strings on that web of fate to move all the pieces and parts in place. Which could make it take longer to try and come to a solution or come to an answer. But when we let go and just let the universe provide an answer for us and be open to whatever that is, that it could be it could look like many different things, that we're not looking at one specific outcome, then we're opening up. The universe has a lot more leeway, and that answer or that problem or that solution can come a lot quicker to us. It can be provided a lot quicker to us. So that's just something to keep in mind, a little hint on how to make things happen for yourself if you're somebody that's not really hasn't worked with a lot of like manifestation techniques. But basically, it's essentially we need to create this void, and by what we're doing is we're saying we're not putting our time and energy into that. So we've freed up that energy, we've freed up that space for something else to come in. So there's always like a balance. We only have so much energy, and so that energy, if you think about the laws of the principle that of energy, that the energy can never be destroyed. It can created or destroyed. It can only be transformed. So that's life. Like everything is an energy exchange. So we only have so much energy to play with at any given time. You think about like when they talk about spoons, spoons is a good example of that. When people say I've only got one spoon or I've got 4 spoons today, it's how much they're talking in energy. How much energy do I have to expend today? How much do I have to work with? What can I take on my plate and what can't I? And so it's the same thing, like, as far as when we're manifesting, if we want something to happen, we have to have a spoon available, so to speak. We have to have something empty. We have to have energy available to let that come in. So sometimes we have to give up something else. We have to put something else aside, or make room. We have to make that room for something to come in. I feel like we've covered a lot of ground today. This is an interesting reading. Okay, so somebody must have needed something in this, so we'll keep going. The last position is our permission position. So this is kind of our sacred yes. The spread is called the sacred yes spread. And it's all about giving ourselves, it's empowering us, giving ourselves permission to do something to make our lives better, to walk more authentically in the world. And so in this position, we have the Chariot. I love this because the Chariot is, again, it's about ego, and it's about our intuition and in our ego. It's the yin and the yang. It's usually 2 horses, black and white, and it's getting that into balance, getting the yin and yang energy into control, like getting them aligned and in balance so that we can move forward. And this is all about, moving forward in a way that's for our highest good. Because when we get our yin and yang in balance, we then can elevate into a higher frequency, a higher timeline. We can move forward in a better way, more aligned with our authentic truth, which is why we're here. This is what this channel is all about. So I really like this being our final card in so many ways, because it really ties back into the beginning of the reading when I was talking about, at the very beginning with the Hierophant card, the yin and yang energy. And it's come up a few times throughout the reading to reinforce that message. Even with the Justice card, there's a lot of stuff about balance here, of finding a balance, finding a middle ground, bridging a gap, finding a middle ground on something, or coming into balance in some way. And so I do want to go ahead and clarify this. I almost feel like, interesting enough, I feel like the Chariot card, usually it's got the Emperor who is driving the chariot. And interesting enough, there's not the 2 horses on this card, okay? And there's, instead of the Emperor, there's like this carriage that actually looks like a home. It's almost like I'm taking everything with me from my home. I'm taking, like I almost have to have the comfort of my home. So we go back to kind of what we were talking about. There might have been like conditioned beliefs from our childhood or from our family, generational things that we have learned, patterns we have learned, or beliefs that we have learned. And see, we're taking those with us. And there's only the one horse versus the two that is usually on the chariot. So this, it kind of leads me to believe, we're moving in a direction, but are we moving in a way that is for our highest good? Because this, the horse is looking down at the ground. He's not really looking where he's going. He's not looking ahead. He's not looking where he's going. And so this really is kind of giving me the impression that, we're moving in a way of old conditioning, of old beliefs, of just doing something that we have always done in a way we've always done. But when we talk about everything in this reading has led us to say we need to move on from that. And then that's why I kind of like that this is the chariot, because traditionally the chariot has two horses, and it's about moving timelines and finding our truth. And so there is this, and I do like the fact that, well, I guess it is moving. There's dust there. I was thinking it was standing still, but no, he's actually galloping, supposed to be galloping away. Interesting enough, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but in the very back of this card, there's like silhouettes of people. And I almost got like, this is our ancestors. This is our ancestral home. And we have these little silhouettes, like those are our ancestors, like our spirits, our ancestors who have passed on, that generational stuff. And so it's almost like we're trying to gallop away or get away from that. but we have this heavy load of what we have learned, and we're trying to get away from that. It's interesting. I wouldn't have normally put that together or thought about that. So let's go ahead and get some clarification. What's this chariot, and what does this mean? What do we need to say yes to? I like the Ace of Wands popped out here with the Eight of Wands. So this is fast movement toward something that we're passionate about. So what we need to be saying yes to at this time is moving towards something that means a lot to us, that gives us joy, that we're passionate about, putting our energy and effort into something that really brings us a lot of passion, like that we're really enthusiastic about. And by doing that, it in a way, it serves as a distraction, but it's not necessarily a distraction. It is, but it isn't. What it's doing, when we go after something or we put our energy into something that we really love or that we're really passionate about, we can get lost in time. And so when we're lost in those moments of doing something we love, we're not thinking about this problem. So we're letting the universe take care of it on its own. That's when we're kind of trusting the universe that behind the scenes, it's working its magic for us. If we're not in this energy of creating this joy and passion and going after and doing things in our life that are creating us this joy and passion, then we might be where we were, at the beginning here, where we're stuck in our head and we're spending all our energy and exerting all our energy on solving a problem. And so that's a big difference. If you think about, that there's a huge difference there between, how you feel when you're going round and round trying to solve a problem and you feel like you're beating your head against the wall. That's a completely different energy than someone who is going after doing something they really enjoy, that they're really passionate about, and they don't have any cares in the world, because in that moment when they're having fun and they're doing something that they love and they enjoy, like me in these readings, time can just go away and everything else, you're in the moment. And when you're in the moment, you can't be thinking about problems and stuff. You're letting the universe take the wheel and let it handle things. And that's where we kind of need to be. I think that's really, what we should be saying yes to at this time, really finding things that really, make us feel good, that make us feel like, more ourselves, that we do resonate with, so that we can get in that higher frequency. Because sometimes when we get in this kind of obsessive thinking and mental energy, and can get, sometimes when we get in our ego mind, and let it take the will, sometimes that can bring us into a little bit lower frequencies, and that makes it harder to stay true to ourselves and stay true to our authentic selves. We can get stuck, as I was saying. And so I really feel there's this need to kind of move past that, or find things that to distract you in a good way, just to bring your energy up, to bring your vibration up, in a positive way, so that, and show the universe that you know what you want, what's important to you, and that you're not going to let something that, that whatever this is, that, it'll resolve itself. Having that trust that it will resolve itself when it's meant to resolve itself, kind of thing. So I think that's where I'm going to leave this reading. I thank you for joining me. As I said before, I do have, if you want to dive more into understanding maybe some of the ways the learned behaviors or conditioning that you have, and understand why you do the things that you do, so that you can evaluate whether those are actually doing you good or not, so that you can decide whether there's things that need to be changed or not changed, or that are true to you or not true to you. I do have a book that I wrote called We Are Not What We've Been Taught, and it is linked down below in the description. If you're interested in it, it will take things further than what this reading can for you. It isn't light reading. It's got a lot of deep, engaging questions that will make you question a lot of things, and really think about a lot of things very deeply, to really try and understand yourself better. So thank you so much once again. I wish you the very best. The comments are open, and feel free to always comment if you have a question, or if you want to share anything. It's open for you to do so. So have a good day, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.